So, on the March the 25th episode of AEW Dynamite, we find out that Matt Hardy, who we've known since 1995, is now possessed by a 3,000-year-old wizard named Damascus, who gives him the ability to control fire, teleport, and see ghosts. And it's very polarizing. And a lot of people had a very negative reaction, and some people had a very positive reaction. And I think it depends on what kind of fan you are of the business and what your thoughts of the business are. Obviously, again you have but I don't think you really have the division between the Cornets and the Meltzers on this issue now. I think you're looking at the hipster theater crowd and the Cornet crowd. The hipster theater crowd are usually people who are around my age, which mid to early 30s, who grew up watching wrestling. Their probably their first real experience with wrestling was in the Attitude Era, and Undertaker's doing the Ministry of Darkness and all that type of stuff. I'm a little bit older. I can remember when Papa Shango put the curse on the Ultimate Warrior. I was watching at that time, and that was to me the first time I had ever seen somebody do like some real supernatural crap in wrestling. And there are people out here who they hate that stuff. They hate the supernatural stuff. But it's a take it or leave it. It's an all or nothing situation. I don't think people can really be either you're in on it or you're not in on it. Either you like it or you don't. Most people aren't going to completely go back and forth with it. Either they knee jerk like it or they knee jerk hate it. And I'm on a situation where because I don't mind a lot of the supernatural stuff, I didn't mind the segment. I didn't like the promo part. I didn't like Jericho cutting a promo on the drone. I hated that because I think it was just a waste of his time and it was pure comedy. It was pure bullshit. It didn't make sense to me. But there are things that are in wrestling now that turn wrestling into a comic book. And and to me, when you realize that wrestlers now, a lot of them are being sort of incentivized to bring what they watch and what they see into the ring. Scott Hall was a guy. Would Scott Hall have ever made it as he not watched Scarface? If he hadn't watched Scarface, he would never have become Razor Ramon, which means he never became Scott Hall in WCW. Which we never had the NWO or whatever. If Sting had never watched The Crow, we would never have gotten that great, visual of the Crow Sting in the rafters and stuff like that. We never would have gotten that stuff. You know, and that was cool stuff for me as a kid when I was 12, 13 years old, because it was kind of the same stuff that I was looking at. It's kind of the same stuff I was watching. So it's always going to be that people bringing in their outside influences into the ring. And yes, we do watch wrestling to see two ham-fisted guys barrel-chested going at each other in a great match. And hell, like I said, I talk a lot about the Daniel Bryan Drew Gulak match. That's the kind of match I want to see. I do want to see those matches. But hell, if you're going to give me The Fiend and Undertaker too, I'll take that too, because I like comic books and video games and movies and shit too. You know, as long as you can make it look good, I don't have a problem with it. The problem is a lot of people they hold double standards where they like it sometimes, or they like it when it's certain people and they don't like it when it's other people. Like, there's a lot of people, that's a groundswell of people out here who hate the Fiend. So when the Fiend does supernatural stuff, they hate it. But when Matt Hardy does supernatural stuff, they like it. It's so just like, when certain people are over the top offensive, it's fine. And when other people are over the top offensive, it's not cool. Like, but it's a real bizarre thing. And some people are just two-faced like that. I'm usually on the side of give me more creativity, show me what you got to give, because you only got, your career is short. Just give me what you got, show me your best stuff and I'll decide whether I like it or not, depending on how good you are at it and whether you can make it fit into your match and make sense. Like I hate hardcore wrestling. I hate it. I hate it. I don't, the barbed wire steel cage matches and all. I could do without all that shit if we want to be honest. But if you do it good, if it's good, I'll say it's good. If I felt like it's psychologically told appropriate story, then okay. I don't like stuntman shit. I don't like all of the flips and the Will Ospreay Ricochet stuff. I don't hate all that shit. But if you do it in a way that I think makes it look interesting and makes psychological sense, cool. I'm cool with it. I think that when I first started seeing that the stuntman stuff was with RVD and Jerry Lynn, it told the story because it fit in the story of Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn. You know, RVD was supposed to be like this super high level talent that nobody could ever keep up with. And now Jerry Lynn was countering his moves and he was countering Jerry Lynn's moves. And yes, it was pure Jackie Chan bullshit, but it fit within the story that they were telling overall. And it fit the storyline of the match, of the matches, and of the feud. Okay, so if somebody ever decides to call me out on it for liking Jerry Lynn versus RVD and they did the whole stuntman shit, okay, fine. But at the same time, you have to look at it overall, of the overall story, including the characters that were involved. So like I said, now wrestling is essentially now a comic book, where you're going to have your Hawkeyes, your super skilled guys who don't have any superpowers. They're real stripped down. They're real normal. You're going to have your superhuman guys. These are usually your top baby faces who can take an ungodly amount of damage and still kick out of finishers. You know, your Hulk Hogan's, your Roman Reigns's, your John Cena's. You know, these guys, you beat on them all day and they keep getting up. And then you're going to have your Doctor Strange, your smoke and mirrors characters who can shoot fireballs, teleport, throw lightning bolts, raise from the dead, and all that other kind of stuff. And that's just kind of how it's going to end up being. You know, and it's unfortunate that some people don't like it because I find that it actually adds a little bit of seasoning to everything that goes on around it. And in the benefit of making something for everybody, then yes, you do kind of have to add a little bit of the supernatural element to it. So Impact added a lot of the supernatural element. I mean, salt is good for you. They just dumped the whole fucking thing of salt in there. And now you have this undead realm where you have people getting their heads chopped off. You have people being murdered. You have, people being banished to other dimensions. You know, they're having Dragon Ball Z sort of key blast fights, and it's just really insane going over on an Impact. So if you really kind of like the supernatural stuff, you should like the Undead Realm and Impact, unless you just feel like it's not done right. For me, I just don't like any of the characters involved, so I don't pay attention to it. I always fast forward through it. But I see the stuff. I see that, these people are trying to entertain you with entertaining stuff. And you also have, if you watch Lucha Underground, there was a lot of supernatural stuff in Lucha Underground, including cannibals, including a magic glove that gave you powers and turns you into a monster that wanted to kill people. There was numerous murders in Lucha Underground. There was, I think I said this already, but there was somebody who ate somebody else. There were people who were caged for several years. There were gods and dragons and cults and all sorts of crazy stuff. And that's just kind of how wrestling, and Lucha Underground did not take up the pretense of being a strictly sports-based presentation. And that's really where I kind of want to go with this. AEW promised a sports-based presentation. That's what they told us, that it was going to be like the pro wrestling you grew up on. I have no idea what the pro wrestling you grew up on is, because who the fuck are you talking to? There's, everybody's different age. I'm, in the early to mid 30s. You can say the pro wrestling you grew up in, and Matt Hardy fits into that because, Undertaker. And, but Marco Stunt does not fit into that because he's fucking midget, But also, wrestlers are getting smaller and smaller, so maybe it does fit, So it's hard to say, but, to me, if I'm in with it because I think it takes creativity, and I think that it helps the performers because these guys really want to make a lot of money off T-shirts and masks and all of the gimmicks that come with it. And they have very short careers. So I'm okay with them extending their careers. Matt Hardy's extending his career by doing the Broken Matt Hardy gimmick. He's did it in 3 different promotions now, and he keeps refreshing it every time to make it a little bit different. And I'm okay with that because it's either that or Matt Hardy retires at 40 and, has to find something else to do, or he goes and rambles and does dicks flips and shit like that in the indies. And I don't want that. I would rather see Matt Hardy teleporting and being possessed and enjoying himself and having fun with that over Matt Hardy being some sad sack who was doing the dick flip or invisible choke slams or invisible hand grenades and stuff like that on the indies. And you may ask yourself, what's the difference between Undertaker throwing fireballs and an invisible hand grenade? And I'll tell you that I was never promised or nobody has to sell Undertaker throwing a fireball, right? Because he's never going to actually throw one in a match. He can do one outside of the match where it's going to be, like he said, lightning strikes a casket and the casket's on fire and Undertaker comes out of the casket. Cool fucking scene. But it's not like he's going to strike Randy Orton with fucking lightning and then they're going to have a regular fucking match. That doesn't make sense, because we know that that's not about to happen. So that's the difference between uh, supernatural stuff in wrestling and invisible hand grenades and invisible, goofy shit like that. Like you can douse all the sizzle you want around it. Ultimately, the match itself has to be somewhat real. So Undertaker has to have a real match with somebody. He really has to throw punches. He really has to throw kicks. He can't just say, I'm a wizard, I control your body, and and I'm supposed to be like, okay, that's cool. It's like, no, he really, at some point, you know, like I said, there's, Hawkeye, Captain America, Doctor Strange, but you can't go full Doctor Strange. You can't just say, I can mind warp, I can do mind control on other people, because to me that's just too far. That's a line too far. If you want to do cool special effects like it's a movie, fine. If you want me to believe that uh, it's a full production of guys who want to do like I said, I don't know, invisible rocket launchers and shit. No, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see guys sell nothing. That's what I want. I don't want to see guys selling something that didn't happen. When Undertaker did the lightning bolts to Kurt Angle in the ring and the ring collapsed, that was fucking cool. Okay, like because Kurt Angle is not really selling the lightning bolts because he can't fucking see them. So like they're on the screen, we can see them. Kurt Angle can't see them. Kurt Angle is selling the ring getting hit by lightning and the fucking ring collapsing underneath him, which anybody would sell because if it fucking happened, everybody would fucking sell it. You know, so that's the difference. Not telling me that there's an invisible hand grenade here and I'm gonna throw it in the ring and everybody's gonna fall down. Like that's fucking stupid. Come on, man. But it's very polarizing. I respect people who don't like it. If you don't like it, that's cool with me. As long as you're consistent and you don't like it from anybody, that's cool with me. If you're gonna pick and choose and say, well, this is my favorite guy, so I like this, and this, I hate this guy, which is usually what people do to Bray Wyatt, is they say, well, I hate him because he can't do chain wrestling, so I'm gonna hate everything that he does that's smoke and mirrors. But I say, bring the smoke and mirrors, man. If that's what makes you interesting, bring the smoke and mirrors, and be damned people who can really chain wrestle but they don't have a personality. As long as you do what you do good and you can make it fit into the storyline. Like Mick Foley is a hardcore guy. He used to always make his hardcore shit fit into the storyline that he's trying to tell, which is why I don't put Mick Foley in a lot of these situations with, New Jack and Nick Gage and all these other retards who can't do anything but hit each other and fall on glass and shit. Like if it fits the story, you can do just about anything. It just has to be able to tell the story. And if you're telling me the appropriate story, then I don't understand like what the story would be for an invisible hand grenade, or to be attacked by an invisible man. I don't know how you would get to that point in the story. So it doesn't work. Like it still has to be some realism there. All right, so what do you guys think? I know a lot of people are really going to like Matt Hardy, and that's fine because Matt Hardy's a real likable guy. But what do you guys? I'm interested in somebody who is not interested in it, who don't like it. Tell me what you think about why you don't like it, and I'm really interested. So let me know.